Hello and welcome to Demon Interviews, episode 126. We've been doing this for way too long, but I'm your host, Springy, and joining us today as a very special guest.
Mad Dr. Mark.
Woo! Um, so first question is, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I mean, as fine as anyone can do after 9 months of quarantine, but uh, keeping it together and looking forward to the end of this.
Awesome. You actually are our first interview recorded in 2021.
All
We
right.
haven't recorded anything with anybody else this year, so you're the first one this year. Um, but this will be coming out in the third month of the year, but that doesn't matter.
Well, I
um,
hope I'm a good omen.
oh, let's hope. Um, my hair is being a big problem today as well, it seems. Um, but first question is going to be have you ever been interviewed like this before?
Um, Not like this. I think I've been sat down at cons once or twice, but this is my first formal online internet interview that will be there forever.
Exactly. But well, we're happy to introduce you to uh, this side of the world of interviewing. Ugh, mouth no work. Um, so the next question up is going to be would you rather eat Cheetos or go on a hike?
Whew. Cheetos are delicious, and they leave that wonderful orange memorial of their passing. But I love hiking. I don't do it enough. I've taken up long distance bike riding over the past year. That's been my like stress reliever to get out of the house. So yeah, time in the outdoors is valued by me.
Awesome. Um, so as people who either know your stuff or know kind of the theme we've been kind of going with as of about a year now, even though this is our second year doing this, you're a cosplayer. Um, is there any other new ones you have planned to do that you're able to tell us about without me giving you a small fee of $5?
Um, I have a project that I've been working on for a month or two. Um, Foam crafting is something that I'm still learning. I'm enjoying kind of developing my skills in that. And I have set out for myself the rather ambitious project of Kingsguard armor from the Game of Thrones. So,
Ooh.
if you're familiar with the series, it's the golden armor that was worn by Jaime Lannister. Uh, the Mountain wore it while he was in the Kingsguard. The character I think I would be most interested in cosplaying is Sir Barristan Selmy, who is like the nerdy knight who really kind of believes in all of that chivalry stuff. And even the Hound wore it briefly, and I have cosplayed the Hound before, so it'd be cool to
Yeah,
get back into that character.
awesome. Um, so why did you pick your social media handle or social media name that you chose instead of um Kingslayer 98 or something?
Well, on pretty much all platforms, I'm Mad Dr. Mark. It's just because I'm too lazy to remember more than one. And the name came around about 15 years ago um, with the first group of students I ever played D&D with.
Oh.
And I guess, they were like, can we call you Mark? And I said, yeah, you can do that once. And they're like, well, how about, how about Dr. Mark? And, and that sort of escalated into Mad Dr. Mark. I'm like, well, more like pissed off Dr. Mark now. Uh, but that was kind of funny. And like in the group email, I guess we had back in those days, that was my handle there. And that just kind of stuck. So it was a student invented name.
Well, that is awesome. Um, so now is the next thing, it's the stereotypical YouTube thing. of saying, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon. If you have any questions for our lovely guest here, put them in the comments section below. And if they're appropriate, we will ask them your questions. And also, don't forget to follow our lovely guest on all the social media platforms. Because as our YouTube stuff says, you're still all here in 5 minutes, not by the end, but you'll all still hear. That's why I say this right now. But yeah, the next question is going to be, what is the hardest thing about getting into one of your cosplays?
Like physically getting into it. I mean, I think every cosplayer has had the experience of kind of failure on the con floor of wardrobe failures. But I'm going to kind of take that question in a different way. I was a casual cosplayer. I did it at first to support my daughter when she got into it. And, I'd go to cons and not be in cosplay and feel like that one dude who shows up at a Halloween party out of costume, right? And I wanted to get in on the fun too.
Yeah.
So the first cosplays I did were generally kind of paired with her. We did from the series Ruby and Uncle Crow. From Gravity Falls, we did Mabel and Grunkle Stan, and it was just like really cool to always play like the crabby uncle character. But even in those characters, there was always something that I liked and admired. I think the hardest cosplay I ever did the first time was Jacques Schnee, because there's nothing redeeming about that character. He's not even that cool a villain. He's just a big asshole. And, for me, that was just a big kind of psychological change to go from a character, even like the anti-heroes, I could say, oh, there's like, they'll stand up for what they believe, or, they're very loyal to their friends. But with Jacques, it was just like, oh man, what a dick. But I was persuaded to do him by some friends who did the cosplayed other members of the Schnee family, and they wanted to get a group together, and so they twisted my arm, and we had a blast. Just a ton of like meme-worthy photos, hamming it up, and Jacques has been a staple in my lineup since then. I'm not a big fan in day-to-day life of just the mustache. So when I do commit to Jacques, like it's him and Stan Lee, the mustache characters I cosplay on that weekend.
That is
So
awesome to hear.
Yeah, I build my cosplays around facial hair. So like I have no idea when the pandemic's going to be over. So I'm just growing out the beard and I can trim it back. My daughter and her friend want to cosplay Zuko and Azula, and they're trying to put it in my head to do Uncle Iroh. So I'm trying to grow out the sides here and get this down as far as I can before con season begins again.
Well, that will be exciting to see. God. So now the next question is kind of a three-parter, but really it's just weirdness. The first question is coming from a past guest, a Mr. Zoom _2028. It's a very long, very complicated question. Bacon? Question mark.
Yes! Exclamation point.
Awesome. Next one, same past guest, Mr. Zoom. Even longer and more complicated. Peanut butter? Question mark.
Yeah, comma, sure, period. Why the hell not? Question mark.
Awesome. Well, the next one is just kind of something that we came up with on the spot one episode of bacon and peanut butter? Question mark.
That's an Elvis thing, isn't it? No, he was peanut butter and banana or some other weird.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's some weird combination with peanut butter.
There are a few foods I won't eat, but that just does not sound like an appetizing combination.
Oh God, my mouse is being weird now. I've actually tried I took a spoonful of peanut butter and I scooped some off of the spoon with a piece of bacon, and I actually tried it. It wasn't that bad. I'm going to be completely honest. Wasn't horrible. Wasn't that bad. We also did talk about some peanut butter cookies with like bacon bits on it, like actual like you cut up the bacon bits.
Maybe bacon bits would be okay.
Yeah.
For my birthday a month ago, I got the D&D cookbook,
Oh.
and they have a recipe for candied bacon in there, and I can't wait to try that out.
Ooh, that sounds really good, actually.
It, it's a special treat.
Um, so before my mouse dies, because it really likes to be annoying on times when we're recording, I'm just gonna plug that in as I'm asking you the next question. So the next question is it's kind of like another set of questions actually. It's a whole different thing. So you did talk about that you have gone to conventions before. How many cons have you gone to? And or if it's easier, how many different cons have you gone to?
Wow. So I think I started going to cons with my daughter in 2017. And we probably go to between 8 to 10 a year. And then there's other small events, like we did cosplay to the premiere of Ruby when they were showing in theaters. I live in Philadelphia. They have a fantastic Japanese cultural festival in the spring, and so we usually show up to that and cosplay.
Awesome.
So as often as we can.
Yeah. That is awesome. And I actually do know about the going to a movie event with a costume on. I wore my black suit Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3 to Spider-Man Far From Home. And at the end somebody was like, "Hey, look, it's Night Monkey." I'm like, wrong black suit Spider-Man, but sure.
Well done.
Actually
Yeah,
got in
it's
for free too.
I mean, I know like some cosplayers are probably really self-conscious about going out in public, but like I'm old enough not to care, and I just love freaking out the normals.
Yeah, it's always fun because like the person who like was letting us in because we went like early. Sorry, I'm looking for the place to plug my mouse back into. Um, the person was like, "Well then," and like something messed up, and then they're like, "Spider-Man shouldn't have to pay for his own movie," and actually let me in for free. I was like, "Cool."
The benefits, yeah.
I have like 18
Uh,
cords. I'm sorry.
in my homeroom a few years ago, there was one girl who was kind of like, she didn't know I cosplayed, but was talking about like those weirdos who dress up to go to movies. This was right before one of the final Avengers films came out.
Mhm.
And there was another kid in my homeroom who was like star football player, president of the student council, all around like super guy. He's like, I went as Thor. That's great, man. You're a
Well,
great kid. I like you even more now.
awesome. There we go. My mouse is now working with 18 chords now. Well, that is actually really awesome. I have to say. And I promise you, I'm meaning every single time I say awesome or amazing. It's just I don't have my thesaurus next to me, so I can't think of any other words.
Well, those are good words.
I mean, yeah. So the next con-based question is, so as we all know, COVID has kind of knocked out a lot of cons. But is there any that you're hoping to attend to safely coming up?
um, I don't have a single favorite con because um, there are aspects of different cons that I love. Um, I mean, Katsucon is great for that, beautiful setting, and that's where you can really kind of ogle everyone's A game cosplays that they bring.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of liked the vibe and energy of Otakon, but honestly, the con that I feel the most home at is Zenkai Con in Lancaster every year, which I would say is medium-sized con. It has about, I think, 3 to 5 thousand people attending, so it's like big enough to have a great variety of cosplays and a good energy,
Mm-hmm.
but not small enough that you feel like you're just a little drop in the ocean. And
Yeah.
it's, where a lot of my cosplay friends go, and so it's always been like homecoming. And it was actually the first kind of big size con I ever went to. Um,
Awesome.
like I took my daughter there for like her 13th, 12th birthday, And this was our first con ever. And her eyes just went big and she's like, I found my people. And the next year we went back in cosplay. So they just canceled it for next year, or I guess
Mhm.
this year now. And it's heartbreaking because it was the first con to cancel because it has a late March date. So we've missed it 2 years now, and that's hard.
Yeah. Um, so kind of just bring it back up to more of a positive note. Is there any? Do you have a favorite convention memory that you'd like to share?
Oh. Okay, this is not a favorite memory by any way, but okay, so um, at the end of a day at Otakon last year, I was dressed as Jacques Schnee, and I just taken my daughter and her friend to the formal. I'm like, I'm not going to hang out here. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm going to go to the hotel bar. I'm going to get a Manhattan and a cheese plate and just like chill. And like, I was really looking forward to that. So I'm there in the beautiful atrium of the convention hotel, in my white Jacques Schnee suit, sipping my Manhattan, and some random dude comes up to me and just gives me a big, wet, sloppy kiss. He is drunker than you can imagine. He goes, I love you, Colonel Sanders. Now, my daughter is in the process of like animating this story. She's going to post it on YouTube soon. Um, but yeah, it was as awkward and weird as it sounds like. And, it was, first of all, I want to remind your viewers cosplay is not consent. But I mean, it's a funny moment, and it's one of those weird, random moments that just kind of make cons a whole other world.
Yeah, definitely. And that's definitely a good message to remind the people that if you do see one of your favorite cosplayers, either from the show or from any other medias, does not mean you can run up and just grab at them.
Yeah, I mean, talk to us, right?
Yeah,
Ask us for a
ask
photo,
permission
ask for
first.
conversation, ask us about the cosplay. We love talking about what we do. But yeah, just kind of like grabbing someone unannounced or touching a prop or cosplay or body paint without asking is just, rude. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, even though you see all those compilations on like from like P Diddy or something doing those types of things, there he asks consent beforehand. There are bloopers where
Hmm.
he asks consent.
Right.
So just make sure everybody remembers that there's a line and you do not cross it. Um,
And, I do a lot of characters for a lot of reasons, but honestly, like what I enjoy the most is just kind of making people laugh. So, like, trust me, there is nothing I won't do in a photograph if you ask me.
well, that
I
actually
mean, I
goes
love the
into
meme shots. I love the kind of hamming it up.
well
I did
that is
Doofenshmirtz at KatsuCon last year. And honestly, like my daughter wore a Perry the Platypus Kirigumi, and we just ran like gremlins around, hitting people with the perfect. Oh, hold on, I got to do the voice. We hit people with the perfect cosplayinator. But it wouldn't work on people because they already had the perfect cosplay. And then we handed out these little stickers with Perry and Doof saying like perfect cosplay.
that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
actually really cool.
My daughter was able to give one to Jessica Negri, and that was like a
Oh,
high point of the con.
that was awesome. That sounds awesome. So kind of going off of the doing anything in front of a camera thing. A question from hopefully still one of our fans, Charlie underscore Aronson 99. What is one thing you regret doing on camera?
I wow, I have no shame. I mean,
Same.
um, yeah, no. I mean, there's like those first fumbles in the cosplay where you're not really proud in the long run of what you produced then. So like, I don't want anyone, well, it's not hard to find, but like digging up some of my early cosplays. Um, I'm not like regretful though, right? They were steps on a road. And so, every journey has a learning process. So, it's just that there's a record of it for me.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Um, the next thing that's going to be asked is going to be would you keep a pet zombie or would you kill it?
Oh, you know what? Over the past few days, I've watched the series Mythica, which was a set of crowdfunded fantasy movies, and they actually have a pet zombie in there.
Huh.
And it like I'd never considered it before watching these movies, but it was pretty cool. It was kind of a running gag through this otherwise serious fantasy series. So I'm like, I'd give a pet zombie a try.
Huh. Awesome. Plus, also in The Walking Dead, it helps you get through the hordes. So it's a win-win situation, whichever universe you're in.
Yeah.
Um. So the next question is going to be who is your biggest cosplay inspiration?
Uh, I mean, I have a long list of cosplayers that I follow that inspire me through their makeup, through their textile work, through their prop making. But, it's going to sound corny, but my inspiration is my daughter. She puts so much love, so much energy. I'm so proud of the way she like does it for all the right reasons. She is overwhelmingly positive towards other cosplayers. So, I mean, she embodies the spirit of the whole hobby to me.
Well, that is awesome. Um, so now we're going to get into, guess what? Even more questions. It's like this in an interview.
I
Um,
was not ready for that.
I know, right? It's crazy. Um, so the next question is going to be, what is one thing you want people to know about the characters that you cosplay as?
Uh, wow. I can tell you, like, I definitely had a cosplay type, certainly in my first few years in the hobby. Um, it was usually the kind of gruff uncle figure. So I'd mentioned Crow and Grunkle Stan. I did General Ironwood again from Ruby. I did Jane from Firefly, and um, just the person who's like, not too bright, but he's there for you.
Yeah.
um, and I've branched out a little since then, but um, and I guess like Stan Lee fits in that too, and it was almost like an afterthought. Like I wanted a cosplay that would be comfortable so I could wear like old guy shoes around the con. And it was Otakon. There's a lot of walking there. And the reaction I got to him was unlike anything I've ever experienced in cosplay before because people were reacting to me as if I were Stanley. It was about a year after he died. And people still had a lot of emotions for this figure who played such a big role in their lives. And they were coming up to me and like weeping and saying, "Thank you, Stan, thank you." And I'd be like, "I'm just a cosplayer."
Yeah.
But to have that kind of effect on people, to like bring a little joy to their day, to bring back happy memories was like really special. And I enjoyed that a lot.
Well, that is really awesome to hear and amazing. I used both the two words I know. Um, so, which cosplay that you do is your favorite?
Um, I want to say, I mean, I think I've had the most fun as Stanley. Um, I mean, that's one where like you can walk down the street in New York City and people are like, "Hey, Stan Lee!" And like, yeah, hey. Like I never I don't know. Cosplay does involve a little acting, right? To get into the
Yeah,
character, to pose like the character, but it's not LARPing for the most part.
yeah,
And people tend not to role play their characters. But when I do Stan Lee, I just like, hey, I get in this, persona and like, hey, you look great today. And
yeah.
I do the voice and I'm like kind of hunched over and like the whole physicality of that comes and it's just a joy to do. I made a Captain America and Bucky pair cry
Oh,
because like we're doing a picture together and I said, "Hey Bucky, even you can make a difference." And like, that's so beautiful. Like,
well, that was just really sweet to hear. It really is. Um, so let's say that there's gonna be two more questions.
okay.
So is the first, well, two more, and then the from my list, and then there's other ones because it's like it's interview or something. Um, the first one is going to be have you ever taken suggestions from random comment sections or something on characters that you should cosplay as?
Uh, for the most part, no. I'll do it from friends. I'm lucky enough to be in a community of cosplayers in the area. We're all Ruby fans, so we call ourselves Beacon Northeast. And they are wonderful and supportive, and they've thrown out a few ideas that, you know, I've adopted. But generally, like people in the street be like, hey, you should cosplay. Um, like, I'm not saying it will never put the seed in my head. Like, ooh, I've never thought of that before.
Hmm.
But generally, there's like too many things I'm like looking ahead to, I
Yeah,
guess.
that makes sense. Um, so the next question, which would be the final one from my little list here, what is the best compliment you've ever gotten, either in person or in a comment section?
Um, in person or in comments? Uh, I mean, honestly, it's just like when you do a character that someone really loves, and they may love like what you've done with that character. They may just, have great associations with that character. But when they see you, they light up, and you're like, oh, that makes my day. Especially when you're doing like a more obscure character that doesn't get cosplayed a lot.
Hmm.
Like, you know, the Hound is a jerk in Game of Thrones, right? He's just
Yeah,
this kind of gruff anti-hero. He's a likable character, but you don't have to hang out with him, right?
yeah,
Um, and yet, like, there's only a few people who do him. So when I go to a con in him, and people are like, "Oh my God, it's the Hound! That's so great!" Um, that that's such a cool feeling when you make someone's day.
awesome. Um, so now we're done with the list of questions. But
Okay, now the
just
physical
one thing.
challenge.
Yeah, I know. 38 push-ups and 28 jumping jacks in the span of 5 seconds. Go.
Yeah, how long you
No,
have?
no, no. Now we'll go on to the final four questions. Um, first of all, do you have any questions for me as an individual or about the show in general?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, now we'll go on to the final three. I promise I won't say that every single time. Um, first, would you ever like to come back to the show?
Sure. Uh, I mean, I missed the opportunity to do Jacques Schnee for a Schnee group earlier on your show, and I
I
kind
watched
of
that.
regret that. I was actually growing my beard out at the time, and it'd be like, oh, he's all about the mustache, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
that anchor in the character that
Yeah.
it comes out of. And since I'm doing the full facial hair thing now, like, I don't think I could do a good Jacques Schnee. So I
Yeah.
regret doing that. But, maybe in the future,
Yeah.
that particular
Definitely.
a-hole could make an appearance.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know we've talked about it before. Like the person who played Whitley has said that they're down to do just a one-on-one with you, well, in characters and stuff, and then we can also just bring them all back together. Have a whole family reunion. Um, but yeah, that's I'm happy to hear that. Next, do you have any suggestions for anybody who should be on the show in the future?
Oh, uh, I want to say, any, the more young people, the better. Honestly. So like I see my daughter and her friends, and they're putting like so much energy into just learning the skills you need.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, little confession. I used to be one of those guys who made fun of cosplayers, and about 10 years ago, a student at my school, there's a tradition that seniors all have to get up and give a speech to the entire school, a
Mm-hmm.
short one about something they're really passionate about. And this girl I knew from class got up and talked about cosplay. And it didn't hurt, of course, that I already knew and respected this student a lot. But she talked about how it pushed her to learn all kinds of new things. I have to learn jewelry making. I have to learn sewing. I have to learn prop making. And I thought that is so cool because I think for many young people plodding their way through high school education, right, they're just kind of taking what gets fed to them. And the
Mm-hmm.
idea that there's a person who's like, I want to learn how to do this, so I'm going to teach myself how to do this. Um, that's really admirable. And I think my attitudes towards cosplay changed at that moment. And so I love kind of, I mean, I'm going through that too. I'm still learning, but I love seeing young people push themselves
Yeah.
in that respect.
Well, that is awesome, and we'll definitely try and find some others newer to the craft cosplayers, and also just newer in age as well. Just get both all in there, you know. Obviously, if to a certain point, get parents' permission first, which we do. We do when they're when there's when we have to do that. So don't worry. Don't worry, we're not like some weirdos just asking random minors. I'm not just a random weird 20-year-old. I mean, I am, but that not in that way. Um,
Yeah.
I have parents' permissions. I have video proof of it. It's not just them saying it. I promise. um, but going on from that, the next question is going to be do you have any questions for a future guest?
Um, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this exactly,
Hmm.
but like I'm old. I'm in my 50s. There aren't many cosplayers my age. So I guess it's less a question than a challenge. Or let's put it as a question. Like, do you see yourself cosplaying in 30 years?
Ooh,
And if so, right, what would your world be like then?
yeah. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. I'll write it. I'll make sure to write it down and ask people because I do know some people who are planning on doing it for that long. So it'd be definitely interesting to get people to answer that question. Um, but now that is the show. That was episode 126 in the books. So I want to say thank you, Mark, for being on the show. I do highly appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Hopefully, we can get you back on either just as yourself or as Jacques Chenier or as any other character for character interviews. Or maybe by the time this comes out, we've already planned, scheduled, and done that because it's March. Who knows? Only time will tell. But um, and thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Don't forget to follow our lovely guest here on all the social media platforms. To either be a way to get to all of them or a link, most likely a way, like the name. Um, so yeah. Um, thank you all for watching, and at least I will see you in next video. Bye bye.
Bye.